Hello, my name is Colleen Cleary and I'm the chair of Innangard. And Innangard is the International Employment Law Alliance of specialist employment lawyers right across the globe and HR specialists. In our network, we have an amazing array of employment lawyers. And many of the employment lawyers in our network are also specialist advisors in the aviation sector. The types of issues that the employment lawyers in the network often advise on can range hugely. And they focus very much around contract employment, which has to operate in a local and an international framework. Another big and significant area is industrial relations. And we have a lot of experience in advising on industrial relations, whether it be collective bargaining or whether it's advising on potential strike action. So don't just take it from me. I'd like you to hear from other members in the network and from their experience, the type of advice that they provide in the aviation sector. Thank you very much.
The three regulatory trends that I think will have the biggest impact on the aviation sector in the next 3-5 years can be summarized, in my view, as follows. Let me start saying that, broadly speaking, the industry employs a diverse range of people with different characteristics and skill sets which influence the price of labor, definitely. Levels of unionization have been traditionally very high, increasing the likelihood of industrial actions in dispute resolution. Such actions can be extremely disruptive to the sector in terms of cost and reputation. However, the advent of low-cost airlines has changed completely the business model and labor dynamics, as linear cost models have driven less advantageous employment terms and contracts, but sometimes more efficient for customers. More recently, COVID-19 has devastated the industry with planes grounded and worldwide redundancies. The severity of the virus and its mitigation could herald a more fundamental change in travel patterns and employment in the industry. There are some significant topics, challenges for the aviation industry, particularly in Spain. The first one would be the concentration of the market, the existence of low-fare companies with large state companies with sometimes different models, let me say, and approach to the business. AEG concentration with Iberia, Vueling, and perhaps in Europa versus other low-fare companies, also an issue and a challenge. The challenge here is to keep on competitiveness and secure that this does not affect unfair competition in the market or concentration of some slots in same group companies. The license to operate ground handling activities in Spain, which will be launched by the end of the year, is a major concern. Remember that handling activities are subject to license, public license in Spain. The recovery of load factors and capacities achieved in 2019 is also a major issue for companies. And finally, I think that the fuel cost and path toward new fuel options to protect the environment and to diminish the carbon footprint with biofuel or others, I think will be an issue in the coming years. For labor purposes, stable work patterns, uniform terms of employment and reasonable working terms are also an issue. EU regulations on Social Security has established the base assigned to the crew as the main criteria for Social Security contribution purposes. If I'm not mistaken, EU regulations approved in 2012 with a 10-year grandfather provision, which ended up on 2022, has stable these criteria. Labor shortage is an issue in Spain. We are increasingly seeing the difficulties most of the companies have to attract people for skilled positions. The challenge here for companies is to retain and implement attractive terms of employment, working patterns, salary with life balance, provisions, work-life balance, and digital disconnection rights are going to be, I think, doubtless one of the main regulatory frameworks which will have a big impact on the aviation sector in the next years. These issues are becoming one of the main concerns for companies, employees, unions, and legislators, especially considering the complex management of the rosters, given the wide range of elements to be considered, such as work time limitations, medical sickness, annual leaves, maternity, paternity leaves, etc. Besides, I think that equality and non-discrimination regulations force aviation companies to review the protocols and decisions to adapt them to the requirements that new legislations and society are currently demanding. The management of absenteeism is also becoming a great concern for the aviation companies, given the high absenteeism rates that they are dealing with nowadays, which is something that has not changed, I think, since the end of the pandemic. And the obligation of all airline companies of complying with safety regulations in the European Union. I think these are contained in Regulation 1178, 2011, regarding medical conditions of crew for crew members. There are multiple provisions, collective bargaining agreements, and regulations dealing with working time in the industry. Main impact on working time, let me remind all of you, is being caused by Regulation 83, 2014. These refer to the so-called FTL, means flight time limitation, which sets a maximum number of hours for crew members because of safety reasons. Pilots and cabin crew have some additional obligations to be on a standby. It can be sometimes home standby or airport standby, and this is also a peculiarity of the sector which must be considered when dealing with working time issues. Thank you very much.